it's been so far. Mike, thank you so much. I too would love to give an introduction to the next senator from the great state of Michigan. In fact, I have not had the opportunity in the 10 blessed years that you've given me that opportunity to represent you, to be able to walk over to the Senate side as I do often. And I talk to senators, but they're not from Michigan. And I'll talk to them. But I know if I talk about the issues that we need to work together on, that's not going to work out. So, John, doggone it, you better win this thing. What a privilege to represent the 7th District, but to represent the birthplace of the Republican Party, Jackson, Michigan. I was telling our special guest, Lara Trump, at the Monroe rally that she did for me. I tell you what, I haven't caught my breath yet. I've been in a lot of motorcades. This is the first time I had to drive it myself. With a state police trooper behind me, Mike, you and I both know the fear of seeing that bubble. But he was supposed to be there. And I had to not run up the back end of Secret Service in front of me. And then Lara Trump's car in front of that, and then the troopers beyond. So I'm not going to relax all night, but it's good to be here. You know, I mentioned in Monroe that it was several weeks back that we got a call in our office, and RJ, my chief of staff, standing back there, took that call. It was from the White House. And the basic gist of the call was, how can we help you? And there are going to be a number of ways that the White House, and specifically President Trump and Vice President, will be able to help us in this campaign. But they said, would you care to have the president come to your district? Well, there are some Republican districts that are too highly educated or something, that they especially have concerns about Trump coming there and hurting their re-election opportunities. I told RJ, call him back and say, absolutely, we'd love to have the president come here, and I'd love to bring him to the birthplace of the Republican Party of Jackson, Michigan. Well, you know, I had to think about why some wouldn't want the president, and I couldn't think of any reason for myself. I mean, bottom line, 4.2% GDP growth this last quarter. That's pretty good when the last president said that we would have a new norm of 2% or less, and any guy who thought he could get the 3% or higher had to have a magic wand. Well, I think the magic wand is fun. We've got that. And then I found out 3.7% unemployment last month. The lowest unemployment rate since 1969 when I graduated from high school. There's a lower unemployment rate for African Americans, Hispanics, Asians, and almost pretty soon women as well, as a result of what's going on with this administration and how we moved this country forward. I thought about the fact that he showed leadership that no other president that I've served with did in pushing for tax cuts for the American people, and especially geared to the middle class. We did that. They once said it was all for the upper class and you wouldn't see the wage increase for the middle class. Well, it's happening. The wage increase is taking place for the middle class as well. All of that is part of the record. And then you look at the world. I mean, it is a much more inviting place now, isn't it? Why? Because America is leading and the rest of the world's leaders are looking to President Trump.
That's right.
They're listening to what he says. To make it work better for America. First, what happens? The U.S., Mexico, Canada agreement. It works for the United States, and all of the special interest groups, etc., come and say, you know, it looks like it's going to work for us as well. We see the European Union come to the table and say, we'll buy your soybeans and we'll buy liquid natural gas. Yeah. That says something to Putin, doesn't it? It says something to China, doesn't it?
Yes, sir.
That comes from leadership.
That's right. That's right.
And we see Kim, who now the president has said, he's my friend. We talk. Rocket Man isn't necessarily my enemy anymore. We're going to keep talking. And we got South Korea, North Korea working together now. And I think we're going to see some good things develop for freedom and opportunity and civil rights and civil liberties, not only in the United States, but in North Korea as well. We look at all that's going on. Why in the world would we here, in the birthplace of the Republican Party, didn't I tell you that, Lara? You're here. 6 blocks down the street under the oaks it took place in 1854. And we nominated Abraham Lincoln to be our first presidential candidate, and he won. Amen. And the world is better because of that, as well as the world has seen what we've done with President Trump, making him our president, going against all odds, and we're going to do that this time.
That's right.
For John James, we're going to do that for Mike Shirkey, we're going to do that even for Tim Walberg.
Yes, sir.
We're going to carry it forward. So I have the privilege of introducing to you a person that you know is here already. I've known her for a long time. It's been about 2 hours now, right? I met some of the other family, and I tell you, it's quite a family. Lara, like me, has a degree in communications. I heard her speak twice now. She learned more. She loves horses. I love horses. Equestrians. She loves dogs. I love dogs. She loves her husband. I love my wife. She loves her 13-month-old son, Luke, and I love my kids and grandkids. But as I've watched, I've also seen something about the Trump family, and it's very clear in Lara. I find out she's a triathlete and a marathoner, but that's not me. I'm a great jogger. That's all. But we share the common concept that we'll run a marathon for this country.
Hey, amen.
Lara loves this country. She's willing to sacrifice. When she signed on to be Eric's wife, I don't think she ever signed on for this. But she stepped up to the plate, and she's come to Michigan today. And she's come to Jackson here to support John James.
Yes.
And Laura, thank you so much. Welcome to the birthplace of the Republican Party.
Thank you guys. How are y'all doing? It is so nice to be here. I ran and I just did Martha McCallum's show, so none of you saw it because you were here. So I'm sorry you missed it. No, it's fine. It is really exciting to be here. I was with my father-in-law last night in Houston. Did anybody see the rally? 100,000 people RSVP'd last night for that rally. 100,000. It's amazing. I've been working with the campaign now for about 3 years. We have never had that many people RSVP. And they think they're going to talk about a blue wave. Please. Not going to happen. My father-in-law asked me where I was coming today. I said, I'm going to go to Michigan. And he goes, oh, Michigan. Tell everybody in Michigan. I said, hi. So hello from President Donald Trump. And you guys know how much we love Michigan because we flipped Michigan from blue to red last time. We got to keep the streak going, folks. And 14 days from right now is a very big day. November 6th is the midterm election day. That's when everybody in this room not only has to get out and vote yourself and make sure you vote for Republicans, but you got to take everybody you know with you. Go vote, then go fill up your car. Maybe rent a van or a bus. Fill it up, take it to the polls, make sure everybody knows how important this is. Because let's talk about the country under President Donald Trump, right? It's going very well, folks. I'm so proud of him. You know, I grew up in North Carolina. My family still lives there. And I can tell you, when I moved to New York 11 years ago, I didn't envision all of this. This is amazing. My father-in-law sat all of us down before he decided to run for office. And he said, you know, I want to do this. I think this is really important, because he saw what we all saw happening. He saw this country headed in the wrong direction. He was getting frustrated with the same stuff we all were, $150 billion to countries that hate us, while our veterans die waiting in line for appointments at the VA. Educational system ranked 30th in the world. Us losing our spot on the world stage as the leaders that we are in the United States. He was getting very frustrated. He kept saying, why? China's ripping us off. Nobody's doing anything about it. I got to run for president. You know, you're kind of like, okay. Then he told us he was going to do it. And he said, you know they're going to come after us, right? I don't know that any of us could have predicted it would be this much. But he knew then that they were going to come after him, because when Donald Trump decides to do things, he's not halfway in, he is all in.
Amen.
And he knew that he could not be bought. He didn't want money from lobbyists, he didn't want money from special interest groups, he wanted to be beholden to only the American people. That is why he ran for president, and he said, I want to know that all of you guys are with me. Because it could get tough, they're going to lie about us, they're going to write stories about us, it could get crazy, and we all said, absolutely, we are on board. And I knew he would be a great president. I knew because I'd watched him in business for several years. I've been with my husband for 10 years now, which is crazy. Don't ask me how old I am. I've been with him for 10 years, and I'd seen my father-in-law and how masterful he was at negotiating and making decisions that were so good for the Trump organization. And I said, how about this? A guy that's had a job before as a president. Wouldn't that be something? Right? And so I never envisioned that I would play such a large role in the campaign, but I went down to my home state of North Carolina with my father-in-law for a rally. This is in August of 2016, and one thing led to another, and he looked at me and he goes, you know what? I want you to win us North Carolina. How about I put you in charge? North Carolina, excuse me, a swing state that is very hard to win, he wanted to put me in charge of. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I'm totally happy to do that. Had no idea what I was doing, but I went into work the next day and I said, I'm gonna need about 3 months off. Got some stuff I need to do, and I got out on the road, and I will tell you that it was the greatest experience of my life, getting to travel across our great country, meet people, hear their stories, hear that people who had been Democrats for their entire life were switching to vote for Donald Trump, hear that people who had never voted in their entire life were voting because of Donald Trump. People who had just turned 18 registered to vote and voted for Donald Trump. It was incredible, and I knew something was happening in the country. And then I would go home for the one day a week that I got to go home and change the clothes in my bag, and I would say, wait a minute, the TV and the people on TV, fake news TV, saying that Donald Trump doesn't have a chance to win, but that's not what I'm feeling out there, because it wasn't just a campaign, it wasn't just an election, it was a movement in our country in 2016. This was the crossroads in our country that we knew was coming. We were gonna have to make a decision at some point. It was the time where we decided whether the people or the politicians were running the country. And ladies and gentlemen, thank God in 2016 the people took their country back by voting. November 8th, 2016, y'all remember that night? Election night? Also happens to be my wedding anniversary. I don't know how that worked out like that, but it did. Turns out it was a great anniversary, a very long one, late night. But I will never forget sitting there with my father-in-law. He was sitting right in front of me watching the results come in. And it took forever for them to call North Carolina, of course, right? And so finally they say the words, Donald Trump wins North Carolina. The biggest sense of relief of my life, of course, because I had promised him I could do it. And I will never forget, for as long as I live, what happened next. He turned around and he looked at me and he goes, that was because of you. We won because of you. Now, thank you, I don't believe that. We won because this country wanted a fighter, and they knew that Donald Trump was gonna fight for them. We won because the forgotten men and women of America stood up and said, we still have a voice and we still have a vote. And we are voting for someone who's going to Washington, D.C. and they're gonna fight for us. That is why Donald Trump won. But I want you to know that that's the kind of person he is. He always speaks out and says thank you. He always recognizes people who work hard for him. He is fiercely loyal. I am so proud to be part of this family. I'm so proud to call Donald Trump not only my father-in-law, but our president, right? But all these great things that we've seen happen under President Donald Trump are at stake in 14 days.
Right.
Because, folks, we do not want to say the words Speaker Nancy Pelosi,
Right. Right.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, right? Nobody wants to say that. If the Democrats take control of the House and Senate, it is going to mean disaster for this country.
Right.
All the forward progress we've seen under President Donald Trump will stop.
Right.
They will be obstructionists. They will resist. Their platform is running on socialism, right?
That's right.
Abolishing ICE and banning plastic straws, right? That's what they're doing now. That's the big thing. Honestly, though, it is so critically important. I would love to be home with my 13-month-old son. I hope he remembers me at the end of all this. My dogs are both mad at me because they haven't seen me in a while either. And my husband, I miss him as well. Don't worry. But really, there's nothing I could be doing that's more important than this right now. Out here, all across our country, in your great state of Michigan, talking about how important these midterms are. And I mean it. This could be a real problem if the Democrats win.
Right.
That is why
Right.
we need people like John James in the Senate. He is doing this because he loves this state. He loves this president and he loves this country. He put his life on the line for this country. We know he loves this country, right? And we know that he's going to vote alongside Donald Trump when he gets to the Senate. And that is what we need.
That's right.
Because what you see happening on our southern border, the very scary stuff happening, could have been avoided. But the Democrats decided that they wanted to play games, right?
Right. Yeah.
We're tired of that and we're done with that. We need the majority in the House. We need
right.
the majority in the Senate.
Yes.
We need John James as your next senator from the great state of Michigan. Resting for 14 days. I want you knocking on doors. I want you making phone calls, telling people to get out and vote for John and all the Republicans down the ticket, because that is the way that we move forward in this country.
That's right.
That is going to mean that Donald Trump's agenda continues forward.
Right.
And y'all know, 2 years from now, we got another election coming up. We're keeping Donald Trump for 8 years, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you guys for all the great support. Thank you for supporting the president. Thank you for supporting John. Thank you for supporting Republicans and understanding how important the midterms are. I know they're not as exciting as the presidential election, but it is equally as important. That's why the president is traveling everywhere. By the way, he would be traveling 7 days a week on the road if he didn't have to run the free world. Sometimes we're like, but don't you need to run the country? And he's like, yeah. Last night, by the way, on the plane back from Houston, everybody was so exhausted, falling asleep. Only one that was up all over the plane, President Donald Trump. Endless energy, it's amazing. But thank you guys for all the hard work you're doing. I want everybody working for, now it's 13 days. It's not even 14, it's 13 more days you've got. Work hard, knock doors, make phone calls, tell everyone you know to get out and vote Republican. So thank you guys for having me here. It is my great pleasure to bring up to the stage your next Senator, John James.
Wow, you cut the polls down to 7 and you get shares. We're moving up in the world. Outstanding. Outstanding. Well, I very much appreciate you all coming out today, carving out time from your very, very busy schedules. It's an honor to stand before you, and it's an honor to share a stage with such amazing talents and servants, people who believe in this country and what we're trying to do here.
Right.
People who believe in us. So please give our special guests and our leaders a round of applause. I'm old enough to remember when it was almost considered a prerequisite to have military service prior to running for a high elected office. I think it was because previous generations recognized and understood that in order to make sure that we protected the American dream for future generations, we needed leadership who understood what the meaning of sacrifice was.
Yes.
People who understood what it took to get this country in the first place. That we are standing on the shoulders of giants. That our freedom was bought with blood.
Yes.
And we demand of ourselves, we must demand of ourselves that same service and sacrifice for future generations. But too few of us feel like we can access the American dream because we don't have the leadership representing and leading from the front in Washington. I'm looking forward to taking the skill set that I developed from the battlefield to the boardroom and deploying it to benefit the people of the state of Michigan on day one when you put me in office on November 6th. Make no mistake about it, I am just a candidate. I have just one vote. I have just one vote. It is you who will decide to take this country back.
That's right.
See, the thing is, we have a very, very special country. It's obvious. We all know that we have the right to vote. Yes. But the thing is, we are endowed by our Creator certain inalienable rights that are among them our life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We recognize that we have a very special country where we are allowed to think independently and we're allowed to vote independently. But did you know that we also have the right to lead independently too?
That's right.
Did you know that in this country, we also have the right to be the leaders? And right now, in this country, we have a system set up that's rigged against the people, rigged against we the people, and they continue to pit Americans against each other.
That's
and
right.
point the blame when things don't go right. And the pundits get their ratings, and the politicians keep getting reelected, and we the people keep getting screwed. Well, we have the chance to change that in 14 days. I will tell you what, Jackson. We must stand up and take our country back. And we need to show that we the people will govern ourselves. The thing is, right now, the only way to become a senator is to be super rich or super connected. You know that? Only career politicians and the ultra wealthy can do this. This is not what our founding fathers intended.
That's right.
Our founding fathers intended for farmers and for businessmen and mothers and students and soldiers to lead this country because we have relevant experience in the real world leading forward. We need to have people on the floor of the U.S. Senate who understand how to tackle the problems in the real world because they've been there before. I'm a combat veteran who understands national security and veterans issues in a way that Debbie Stabenow neither can nor will she.
That's right.
As the world's becoming a more and more dangerous place, it would be great if we had somebody who's been to battle before, who actually understands what it takes to keep America safe because they've done it before. And with 670,000 veterans in Michigan right now, Debbie Stabenow admitted that our issues were not on her radar screen. She was unaware of the issues facing veterans. When we've been at war for a decade and a half, and we still haven't welcomed our Vietnam veterans back home properly, how you tell me this didn't make a dent on your priority list? That's the dereliction of duty where I come from. I will tell you, if you have my 6 on November 6th, veterans, I will have your 6 for the next 6 years. I understand that in Michigan, the business of Michigan is business. I run. Oh, that sounds pretty good. that guy has a real good message. You know, that sounds like a red, white, and blue message to me. That's pretty good. No, but I'll tell you, when you're talking about the business of Michigan being business, moving us all forward, making this a more hospitable place for everybody to achieve the American dream, understanding that yes, jobs are important, but it's not just jobs in order to allow our children to have a better future. We need to create pipelines of prosperity to our forgotten farms and our neglected neighborhoods. We need to take a look at early childhood development, K through 12 education to include vocational skills and skilled trades. We need to take a look at criminal justice reform and rolling back harmful regulations that stifle entrepreneurship, innovation, and allow our businesses to compete. Because guess what? Check this out. It's not just about the factories, but the farms. I recognize running a family business, there's a lot of parallels in family business from a factory to a farm, from east side to west side, from north to south, because we deal with the same taxation, regulation, and overburdensome bureaucrats that are impinging on our lifestyle right here. When you're dealing with trade and leveling the playing field, look, our farmers don't need free stuff. Our farmers just want a fair shot.
Yeah.
Our workers don't need free stuff. We just want a fair shot. And when you have a current senator, who still can't get a farm bill through, but when you have a current senator, who will talk about what she's done, when she's been an elected official for 43 years, collected $4 million from the taxpayers, been in Washington for 20 years, been in the Senate for 18 and only got 5 of her co-sponsored bills into law. And she calls herself effective. She calls herself a leader. That's the time to retire, right? when you talk about bipartisanship, and you're rated the 69th most bipartisan senator by Lugar Center, that is more liberal than Elizabeth Warren, who apparently is a minority now. It's incredible, absolutely incredible. Like we're living in the Twilight Zone. But I'll tell you, when you take a look at that, when you take a look at the ineffectiveness, the hyper-partisanship, and the loss of credibility. See, check this out. I asked Senator, who saw the debates?
I did.
Wow, outstanding. So we proposed 6 debates, and we had outlets, over a dozen outlets who wanted to televise this, take it up. And Senator Stabenow and her team only took 2. They must have gotten the Nixon-Kennedy memo because they wanted to do their best to bury these debates. And I'll tell you what, I wouldn't want to debate me after having her record for 40 years. I certainly would. I asked her 2 simple questions. For the campaign promises that she's making now, I asked her, why should we believe you this time? And for the things that she's passed with her 11th hour legislation, I asked her why she's taken so long. She's talking about the Sioux Locks, and the Sioux Locks have been around for 100 years. She's talking about protecting the Great Lakes. There's Asian carp DNA in the Chicago River. There's sewage in the St. Clair. There are algae blooms in the Erie. They're still dumping Canadian trash in our backyards, and there's PFAS all over the area. And she's happy that she got Great Lakes funding and at the basic level and didn't get cut. Well, I'll tell you what, that needs to be table stakes. We need to have somebody who's going to get more funding to protect our water and not just hide behind and pander every 6 years. See, check this out. In the year 2000, she promised, when she first got elected in the year 2000, she promised to fix our educational system in 10 years. It's 2018, and we have among the worst educational systems in the country. Right? Broken promise. In the year 2002, she promised to lower our pharmaceutical costs. And right? Promised to lower our pharmaceutical costs. You know what happened? Not only have our pharmaceutical bills gone up through the roof, but she also took almost $400,000 from pill-pushing lobbyists, and turned her head the other way as doctors overprescribed opioids. And you know what record we just broke last year? Opioid deaths. This has happened under her watch. And guess what happened in the year 2006? In the year 2006, Senator Debbie Stabenow stood up on stage, the very stage that we were on a couple of weeks ago, and said that she would give our service members every single thing that we need when we're in combat. And in the year 2007, after she got reelected, she actually voted against emergency funding for troops who were going to Iraq. You know why? You know how I know that? Because I was there.
Yeah.
She voted against the emergency funding that we need to prosecute the mission and to keep our brothers and sisters safe to accomplish our mission. That was a broken promise.
Yeah.
Senator Stabenow is ineffective. She's hyper-partisan. And she has lost credibility. But only in this system would that be considered okay to run again. But the thing is, I'm just one vote. I'm just one vote. And if this enthusiasm stays bottled up in this room, it won't do any good. You're going to have the same person representing you in Washington for the next 6 years. Are you okay with that?
No.
Or would you like to have someone, look, in the past 18 years, Debbie Stabenow's gotten 5 bills passed into law. 3 of them are to rename buildings. In the past 18 years, In the past 18 years, I have graduated from West Point, become a Ranger qualified Apache pilot, flown 750 hours combat in Operation Iraqi Freedom. I came back to grow my family business from 35 million to 137 million and added over 100 jobs in Michigan and around the country. I got a master's degree in supply chain management from Penn State. I got an MBA from the University of Michigan. I married a beautiful woman from Ada, Michigan, and have 2 little boys and 1 on the way. Who do you want leading you forward in the future? I've been busy and we have a lot of work to do. We can't stop now. The only thing we can do right now is to band together, make sure we fire everyone up, and make sure that everybody understands what we have at stake here. We can go backward or we can go forward. We can protect the American dream for future generations, or we can allow it to disintegrate in front of our eyes. I don't make very many guarantees in this business, but I will make you a guarantee. I will guarantee you, if Debbie Stabenow is reelected, we will be surrounded by water we can't drink.
Right.
We will be surrounded by schools that can't teach. Our teachers will continue to be failed, and our veterans will be forgotten.
Yeah.
Because that is the current trajectory we're on. That guarantee is part and parcel. If Debbie Stabenow is reelected, I will guarantee you that nothing will change. And if you're okay with that, if you're okay with that, okay. If you're not okay with that, you know what you have to do? You gotta get out there, you gotta vote, you gotta tell your friends, you gotta share everything. Because I'll tell you what, over these next 14 days, I'm gonna be busting my tail, not because I'm running to beat Debbie Stabenow, but because I'm running to serve you.